Notre Dame just added two major pieces to its 2026 recruiting class, and the Irish are now sitting at number 4 in the national team rankings. This class is heating up fast, and I expect more good news on the way. Let's break it all down right here on Locked On Irish.
You are Locked On Irish, your daily podcast on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, and welcome into another edition of Locked On Irish, your daily Notre Dame podcast. My name is Tyler Wojciak, and I'm the host. I graduated from Notre Dame in 2018. Now I'm a producer at Fox Sports, and I am thrilled to have you here with me on Wednesday, April 16th. And thanks for getting your day started right here by making this your first listen of the day. While you're at it, please take a second to hit that subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you are listening to podcasts. If you're watching along on YouTube, you can see the race to 10K. It marches on. We're getting closer by the day, so make sure that you subscribe. And also wanted to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Let's get to it. Spring transfer portal window is officially open as of today. I'm sure it's a day that some college coaches have been dreading for a long time, but it's officially here, and there's sure to be some movement in the coming days, and we're going to have full coverage as names start to pop and the picture becomes clear. But today's show is all about the good news on the recruiting front because Notre Dame just landed 2 more commitments in recent days, and the Irish are absolutely rolling in the class of 2026. I'm going to dive into what makes 4-star offensive lineman Gregory Patrick such a key piece up front, and why 3-star wide receiver Bubba Frazier is a big play threat that the staff is very excited about. We're going to finish with a look at what is next as Notre Dame builds one of the most exciting classes in the country after a pretty slow start. But let's talk about Gregory Patrick first because he was the first to commit between him and Bubba Frazier, and he is the type of offensive lineman that Notre Dame has really built its identity on, someone who's nasty, versatile, and built for development. Let's take a look into his background. So he's listed as 6'5", 275 pounds. I think that's probably exaggerated slightly. I think he's a little bit smaller than that, but he is a consensus 4-star prospect. He's the number 182 player overall and the number 17 offensive tackle, according to the 24/7 Sports composite. But is he a tackle? Is he an interior offensive lineman? We're going to get to that in a second. But he's from Portage, Michigan, and plays for Portage Northern High School. His dad actually coaches the offensive line for his high school, and his dad also played at Michigan State, and his uncle played at Nebraska. So he's got good bloodlines, and there is coaching at all times in his life. He chose Notre Dame over Michigan State, his father's alma mater, but he also chose Notre Dame over Michigan and Penn State. He actually had official visits scheduled for all 4 of those schools this summer, but he was just on Notre Dame's campus this past weekend for the spring game, and the visit went so well, he just went ahead and committed. So this was a big-time get for Notre Dame. He also had offers from big-time programs like Alabama, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, and plenty others. Like Notre Dame had been recruiting him for a really long time, but this is the type of prospect that's been getting looked at since he was a freshman in high school. So this has been a long time coming. I'm sure he's very excited to finally announce his commitment. Maybe that's why he was just ready to pull the trigger after this weekend at Notre Dame for the spring game and all of that. But this is a big-time get for the Irish. And it's always great to win a recruiting battle over Michigan, especially for an offensive lineman. And his dad actually took to X to criticize a certain reporter who works for the Michigan On 3 site and basically claimed that there were some baseless claims being thrown around by this Michigan reporter, he who shall not be named. But I did think that was a little bit interesting, right? As Notre Dame continues to battle with Michigan on the recruiting front, it looks like the people who cover the teams are also getting into some spats as well. But that is all I'm going to say about that. Let's talk about the film breakdown and stats for Gregory Patrick. He has got a really powerful frame, and he's got advanced technique, which isn't really surprising when you consider the fact that his dad played on the offensive line and is an offensive line coach. But I think he's a true versatile lineman who can play all over, right? Like he plays left tackle for his high school. If he ends up playing interior at Notre Dame, that wouldn't surprise me either. But he's been receiving great instruction for his entire life, and that shows in every snap that he plays. He's an exceptional run blocker, though. That, I think, is his clear strength. He loves to run dudes over and finish tackles. Clearly, he's got a mean streak in him, and that shows every time he steps onto the field. He also plays basketball, too, which I think is very good for any offensive lineman, right? Like if you can't move, if you're really stiff and all that, you're probably not going to succeed at basketball. But Gregory Patrick is a good basketball player, so he can move on the basketball court and the football field. I always think it's great when you get a multi-sport athlete, and getting a basketball playing offensive lineman is always a treat as well. Although he's not going to like blow you away with his athleticism or footwork. He's not like Emil Wagner, who was a stud at basketball coming out of high school. Now, as for his fit at Notre Dame, I've already mentioned that you can move him around positionally. Our guy Tim Priester from Irish Illustrated compared him to former Notre Dame offensive lineman Robert Hainsey, who was also a little bit undersized. He played tackle at Notre Dame, ended up playing center for the Buccaneers. That's where he's carved out an NFL career. And I think, there's a chance that Gregory Patrick could follow a similar path in the sense that he can move around. Now, he claims that Notre Dame is looking at him to play tackle, but considering he's a little bit undersized, I would certainly not be surprised if they end up moving him inside. But either way, it doesn't really matter because from a cultural standpoint, Gregory Patrick is a perfect fit for a place like Notre Dame, especially for the offensive line room, because we all talk about like the culture of the Notre Dame football program, the culture of the Notre Dame locker room. Like that's very true, and it's in great shape right now. But within that culture, there's a subculture with the Notre Dame offensive line room, and it was established really by Harry Hiestand and what the precedent that he set with his players. Like you hear from like Mike McGlinchey or Zach Martin or any of the offensive linemen that came through at that time. They always talk about just how that offensive line room just became so close-knit and how they do everything together. Well, that has carried on over the years, and that still exists today. And I think that Patrick is going to fit into that room perfectly because he just is like a prototypical offensive lineman, and he stands for everything that room is about. So it's not really a surprise that when he made his commitment, he said one of the big reasons why is because of the academics and the people. And if those are the two reasons, if those are the deciding factors in where you're going to end up playing big-time college football, then Notre Dame is probably going to win out on that recruitment like 10 times out of 10. That's certainly what happened here. And now Patrick becomes the fourth offensive line commit in this class. He is the fifth-ranked player in the class overall, according to the 24/7 Sports Composite, and he is the second highest-rated offensive lineman, only behind Tyler Merrill. Sullivan Garvin and Ben Nichols are the other two offensive linemen in this class, and this is just a trend for the Irish. They continue to stack elite offensive line classes. Last year, they were really focused on adding tackles. That's exactly what they did. They got Will Black, the 5-star, but they also added Owen Strabig, Matty Augustine. But this year, it seems like they're loading up on the interior a little bit with some guys who can move around like a Gregory Patrick. They're not done on the offensive line either. I think they're still absolutely in the mix for 4-star offensive tackle Grayson McKeough. He's actually going to be visiting this weekend. He is teammates with another prospect that Notre Dame is after heavily, Joey O'Brien. So he already knows a good bit about Notre Dame through Joey. This is a big visit for him, and he is a true tackle. Like, he's 6'7", and I think if they get him, they might be done on the offensive line, but they're still looking at high 4-star, borderline 5-star Ekene Igboko. If they get either one of those guys, that's 5 offensive linemen in the class, and I think that would wrap up another stellar group of offensive linemen for Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman always says he wants an offensive and defensive line-driven program, and adding a guy like Gregory Patrick certainly helps that cause. But at this point, we expect the Irish to land top-tier offensive linemen, but speedy wide receivers out of Georgia, that's a different story. So coming up next, we're going to break down Bubba Frazier's commitment and why the Notre Dame coaching staff sees big-time potential in the young wideout. Today's episode is presented by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel, and you place your first $5 bet, you will get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into same-game parlays for a chance to win big. All right, here's my pick. The Cavs are plus 490 to win the NBA Finals right now on FanDuel. Just saying, am I wearing a Cleveland Cavaliers shirt? Yes. Am I a little bit biased? Yes. But that's pretty good value. So don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. All right, let's dive into 3-star wide receiver Bubba Frazier and his commitment to Notre Dame, because this is a really interesting prospect. So he might be like a 3-star by ranking. The 24/7 Sports Composite has him like a low 4-star, but his speed, production, and just raw tools scream high upside steal. Let's take a look at his background. So he's a little bit undersized, no doubt about that. He's listed at 5'10", 175, which means he's probably 5'8", 150. That's probably a bit of an exaggeration, but I don't think he really looks 5'10", 175. He's a low 4-star on the composite ranking. Like I said, he's ranked as the number 400 player overall in the class, number 62 wide receiver, but he absolutely could be a late riser. He plays for Benedictine Military School in Savannah, Georgia. Not necessarily a hotbed for Notre Dame recruiting, but they went down there to the South and got his commitment, and he picked Notre Dame over Wisconsin, Auburn, Arkansas, Georgia Tech, and over a dozen others. So even though he's not rated super high, there are big-time programs in the SEC that were looking at Bubba Frazier, and this happened really quickly. Like, Notre Dame didn't even offer him until February of this year, and by that point, like, several other programs were in good shape. He had visits scheduled to other programs, but Notre Dame was able to get him on campus shortly thereafter. They connected with him, and they got his commitment pretty quickly. And it really all started because of an Under Armour camp where he just was electric. Okay, he's got blazing speed. He ran a 10.69 in the 100-meter dash, and he also ran a 21.76 time in the 200-meter. But at that Under Armour camp in Atlanta, he was the fastest person in attendance. And this was a big-time camp. A lot of big prospects who were in attendance for this one, and really it was Bubba Frazier who just blew everyone out of the water. He ran a legitimate 4.43 40-yard dash. Like, not a 4.43 where the high school coach is timing him and he's trying to get his guy some offers. No, this was a legit time at a very big-time event for recruiting, and he was the fastest player there. So for a high school prospect, that is truly elite speed. And just think about how much that could improve after spending some time with Lauren Lando, who all the Notre Dame players rave about. Like, look at Jeremiah Love this past season and how much more explosive he looked compared to his freshman year. Like, I know that some people criticize him for the injuries, which I've already gone over on the show. I don't really attribute those to Lauren Lando. I just think they all have to do with playing football for a 16-game season. But when you listen to the players talk about Lauren Lando, the one thing they bring up all the time is how they're much more explosive, they're quicker, they have better acceleration, everything. So you take a player like Bubba Frazier, who already has all the raw speed and the elite traits, and then you put him into a college weight program with Lauren Lando in charge, I think he could be even faster. And I'm talking like 4.3 speed by the time he finishes his college career. And that speed translates really well to the football field. So as a junior, Frazier racked up 1,350 yards from scrimmage and 13 total touchdowns. He is a threat in the pass game, but he also can run the ball as well. So he hauled in 46 catches for 753 yards and 5 touchdowns, and then he ran for 604 yards and 8 touchdowns on 85 carries. So he combined for over 2,400 yards from scrimmage during the past 2 seasons, and he does have the ability to beat defenses over the top, but his run after the catch ability is what really separates him. Like, he's the type of player who could take a screen, take a slant, take a jet sweep to the house at any given moment. He definitely does need to get a little bit bigger once he gets to college. I don't know if he's going to grow in height, but he's certainly going to put on some good weight once he gets into a college weight program. But there are other things he needs to improve upon as well. Like, he's not a really great route runner, which is really not that surprising, right? Because a lot of players who are as fast as he is, they don't need to be great route runners, right? It's just like, get them the ball and they're going to be all right. Like, his high school uses him as a wildcat quarterback sometimes, and it's literally just like, hey, take the snap, hit the hole, and be gone. And when you have that kind of speed, you don't really have to run like a super crisp route to get separation. You just do that by being faster than the guy across from you, and that's what Bubba Frazier does a lot. He's going to get better at that in college. He's going to have to. So I don't really see him as a guy who's going to just like start at Notre Dame immediately. I think it's going to take some time for him to develop, but I do think that like he could be a factor in the return game or things like that. But he's not just a speed guy. He has good ball skills and he can make contested catches. Tom Loy from 24/7 Sports spoke to a source at Notre Dame, and they raved about the difficult catches that Frazier was making at this Under Armour camp. Like, it's one thing to have great speed, but you got to be able to catch the ball when you get that separation, and Bubba has the hands to do it. I think it's only going to get better in time. So as for how he fits at Notre Dame, he is a true slot receiver. And he has the type of speed that Notre Dame has been after, specifically at the wide receiver position, because let's be honest, they've really struggled to land high-end wide receiver prospects in the past few years, and I don't really see that changing anytime soon until one of these homegrown guys blows up. Like if Jaden Greathouse plays like he did in the last 2 playoff games throughout this season, and he really just lights it up, he's going to get a ton of attention. He's going to get drafted pretty high in the NFL draft. And then when that happens, once there's like proof of concept and these high school recruits can look at Notre Dame and see a really talented receiver that they recruited and developed, then more high 4 and 5-star guys are going to end up committing to Notre Dame, or at least give Notre Dame another look. So for now, they're really prioritizing speed, and they need to find some 4-stars who can get on campus and then develop into really talented players. Then they're going to start adding more guys. But for now, they're really focused on guys with elite traits and then hoping that they end up blossoming into really good players. But with guys like Bubba Frazier, I think that's exactly what they're looking for. He certainly has elite traits, and he can maximize his potential and end up becoming a really good college football player. So as for his impact on the class, he's the 11th total commitment in the class, and he's the second wide receiver commit alongside Dylan Faison. And they're actually pretty similar as prospects. Like they're undersized, they're extremely fast and elusive with the ball in their hands, but they're not rated super high on the recruiting rankings. I think Dylan Faison is going to explode his senior year because he's playing in Florida. There's going to be a lot more eyeballs on him because his brother Jordan is having success at Notre Dame, both as a football player and a lacrosse player. Dylan Faison is like the number 1 prospect in the entire country at lacrosse, so he's going to do what his brother does, play both for Notre Dame. So I think that Dylan Faison has a chance to rise up the rankings, same with Bubba Frazier. But now Notre Dame needs to add some bigger receivers who can play the boundary, who can play the field, and can contribute early on in their careers, because I don't really see Dylan Faison or Bubba Frazier doing that unless it's like in the return game or something like that. Like I said, wide receiver recruiting has been bad, but they're off to a much better start this cycle than they have been in years past. But they need 2 more guys at minimum. They're still in the mix for 4-star wide receiver Kaden Finley. He's been at the top of their board for a really long time. He's a 4-star wide receiver out of Texas, and they're also in the mix for another 4-star from Texas, Braden Robinson. He is considering the Irish. He's also considering Ohio State. So that's going to be a tough get for Notre Dame. But if they do pull that off, if they get Finley, they get Robinson to go along with Faison and Frazier, that's a really good group. They're also in the mix for 4-star wide receiver Gordon Sellers out of North Carolina. They got in pretty late on him. Clemson has been in the lead for a long time, but he actually just visited Notre Dame this past week, and he is expected to announce his commitment on April 18th. Notre Dame is trying hard to get him to delay it, maybe get back on campus, because if he does make his commitment on April 18th, I don't think it will be the Irish, but stay tuned for more updates there. Overall, I would just say I'm cautiously optimistic about the wide receiver position in this class. I feel the same way about the wide receiver position on the actual team. So we're going to see how things play out. But adding Bubba Frazier at this point is a really big get, because he just has a ton of upside and has that type of speed that Notre Dame has been really looking for at this position. So that's 2 big additions in the span of a couple days, and that's on the heels of adding elite edge rushers Ebenezer Iwatade and Rodney Dunham. So coming up, I'm going to lay out where Notre Dame stands in the class of 2026, in which high-profile names could be next to join the Irish. I already alluded to it at the top of the show, but Notre Dame's class of 2026 was off to a pretty slow start, and a lot of people were freaking out. Now they have 11 total commitments, and they have vaulted all the way into the top 5 on the 24/7 Sports Composite team rankings, and I think they're going to get more good news here in the very near future. And for all those people who are freaking out, look, I get it. Like, I certainly had my concerns about the lack of momentum on the heels of Notre Dame literally playing for the national championship. I thought, okay, well, like now that Notre Dame has done it, they proved they can win under Marcus Freeman and play on the biggest stage. I kind of thought that there'd be commits rolling in, but that didn't really happen. But we also have to consider they lost Al Golden to the Bengals, their defensive coordinator. They lost running backs coach Dylan McCullough. Chad Bowden left, the general manager, to a rival, and he brought some people with him. So Marcus Freeman basically had to hire 2 of the most important positions on his entire staff, because Dylan McCullough wasn't just a running backs coach, he was an associate head coach as well, and he had to restructure his entire personnel department before they could really get back to work. Now, not only are they back to work, they've got things humming right now with 4 commits in the last 10 days. Mike Martin, since he became the general manager at Notre Dame, things have been looking really good for Notre Dame. We're going to see what happens here in the transfer portal in the coming days, but I really like what I've been seeing from Notre Dame on the recruiting trail. And if you look at the class of 2026 right now, they've got 3 solid strengths. So they're good at quarterback, right? They've got their guy, Noah Grubbs. They've had him committed for a long time. He is solid. He's still just outside the top 10 quarterbacks in this class, but he has the size and the potential that Notre Dame really likes. They're also strong in the offensive line. They've got 4 commits. Merrill, Patrick, Nichols, and Garvin. They're good there. They're looking for one more, but that is undoubtedly a strength of this group. Then they have Rodney Dunham and Iwatade at defensive end. So that's a strength. They're going to continue to try to add to that, but having those 2 guys right now, that is huge for this class. But some other prospects who are on commit watch. 4-star running back Javian Osborne is going to commit on May 3rd, and all eyes are going to be on him when he makes his decision because he's a top 100 player in the class. He's an elite running back out of Texas, and he was just on campus for the Blue Gold game. He is visiting Michigan this upcoming weekend, which I admit is a bit concerning, but Notre Dame feels very, very good about landing him. This would be one of the biggest commitments in this class, no matter what happens. Javian Osborne is that good. He is very, very talented, and he is someone that Coach Jaywan Sider was after as soon as he got the job as the Notre Dame running backs coach, and Michigan had all the momentum. People thought he was going to commit to Michigan right away. Sider comes in, he gets involved in this recruitment for Notre Dame, got him on campus, and things shifted quickly. Now Notre Dame is just in this fight. They really want to get him to commit on May 3rd, and if they do that, that would be massive for this group. And they're also in the running for 4-star running back Brian Bonner, who is ranked just a couple spots behind Osborne. Notre Dame is going to take 2 running backs in this class right now, and they're in the mix for 4 very, very talented guys. It's Osborne, it's Bonner, it's DeSeven Walker, and Jonas Walton. And at this point, it's whichever 2 guys commit first, those are the 2 running backs in this class, and you cannot go wrong with any one of these guys. They're all that good. Osborne and Bonner are ranked a little bit higher, but these guys are studs, and I think it's going to end up being Javian Osborne and Bonner, which would be just an A-plus grade at the running back position. Jaywan Sider's first class as the Notre Dame running backs coach. So keep an eye on those guys. Also keep an eye on 4-star defensive tackle Tiki Ola. He's going to announce his commitment on May 10th. He was also just on campus for the spring game. Notre Dame feels very good that they can beat out SMU. Tiki's from Texas, so SMU is firmly in the mix. USC is also in the mix as well. But this is a big dude who helps fill a need. He is not the only guy. Notre Dame certainly needs more help on the interior of the defensive line, but Tiki Ola would be a big-time commit, someone who Notre Dame has been after for a really long time. They feel like they're in good shape there. On defense, or I should say in the secondary, defensive back Joey O'Brien is someone Notre Dame would absolutely love to add. He is a borderline 5-star recruit, top 50 player in the country. He could play cornerback. He could play safety. He could probably play nickel. It doesn't really matter. He's going to be a stud wherever he plays. He's 6'3", 185 pounds, and he's one of the best all-around athletes in the entire class. At this point, it feels like it's down to Notre Dame and Penn State. Now, Joey O'Brien is from Pennsylvania. You got to give credit to James Franklin and the Nittany Lions. They've been able to keep Pennsylvania talent in-house, and if Notre Dame is able to steal him away, that would be a massive win for the Irish. I think they're going to pull it off. It's going to be hard. O'Brien is going to be on campus at Penn State this weekend, but ultimately I do think Joey O'Brien is going to end up committing to Notre Dame, and that would just be, it'd be one of the biggest commitments for Mike Mickens, and on a long list of them, right? He is that good. I think he could potentially contribute right away. So Notre Dame is working really hard to get that done. And there are also a couple other names to watch, not necessarily on commit watch, but there's going to be visiting campus here soon. 4-star defensive tackle Elijah Golden is going to be on campus tomorrow, along with offensive tackle Grayson McKeo, who I was talking about earlier. So Golden is one of the most important prospects for Notre Dame in this class. They desperately need help at defensive tackle, and Golden is a guy who they have been after for a really long time. He is considering Alabama. They've kind of made some serious momentum late. He's also considering Florida, which is where he plays his high school football. So this is not going to be easy for Notre Dame. They have struck out at defensive tackle so many times in the past, so they absolutely have to get this done. And Golden has already made several visits to campus, but this visit tomorrow is the most crucial one yet. Notre Dame is also set to host 4-star linebacker Tank King next week. They're in a tight battle for him, but the staff is very high on him. They like their chances with him, but they have been able to build a little bit later on than normal. Last year, it felt like they had 20 commits at this point in time. They have restructured. They have changed their strategy a little bit, but now they have been riding this wave of momentum. They've got a bunch of commits in the past 10 days, 4 in the past 10 days, and I think they're going to get more here in the near future. Keep an eye out for Javen Osborne, May 3rd. We're going to have a lot more recruiting coverage coming your way, but this is shaping up to be one of Marcus Freeman's best recruiting classes yet. And we're just getting started in April. We got a long way to go. We got a lot more recruiting stuff to talk about. We got the transfer portal coming your way, but that is going to do it for me today. Thanks again for making Locked On Irish your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL Draft Show to get you ready for the draft. It's coming up. I cannot believe it, but I'm going to be right back here tomorrow morning to react to the first day of the portal window opening up and break down any news that ends up popping up between now and then. In the meantime, make sure that you are subscribed on YouTube or wherever you are listening to the podcast. And if you enjoyed the show today, please give this video a like if you're watching along on YouTube and rate the show 5 stars and leave a review if you're listening to the podcast. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.